Aimee, thank you so much for joining me on the show today. I'm excited to have you here.
To be here. Thanks for having me.
So, you are known as the Toxin Terminator, which is going to be great for
Mhm.
today's episode because we are going to talk about all of the things that might be affecting us in our homes adversely that we may not even know about.
This is my favorite topic to talk about because it was my story and how I got well.
Awesome. So, what got you going in this direction? I mean, you've got a lot of information out there, and it seems like at one point you were at a pretty unhealthy spot in your life. And so that's how you started to learn about all these things.
I really was, and here's the thing. I think for so many of us, and I speak in terms of women. I know there's guys out there that are unhealthy too, but I'm walking my walk here. So, um, but I believe we just have no idea what it really feels like to feel good. We have been made to believe that as we get older, we're just going to have this symptom or that symptom. As we become parents, we're just going to be tired. We're just going to be lacking in all these different events that happen in our life. We're led to believe that things are just normal. Everybody has them, everybody experiences them. We all experience cramping. We all have, premenstrual symptoms, or maybe it's premenopausal symptoms. And I'm here to tell you that those symptoms are not, even though everybody else is experiencing them, they're far from being normal. There's a lot of things happening in our body. And I had lots and lots and lots of chronic diseases as I was an adult. And I learned how to really work with my body, and that actually what was inside my home was what was making me sick. Now, I need to disclose, I was an automotive mechanic for 30 years. I worked on cars. And so I always felt like if there was something dangerous, I knew what that was being in that industry. I knew I had to wear personal protective equipment. I had no idea that the products I was buying off the shelves and bringing inside the home were making me sick.
Wow. Okay. So this is crazy to think of because my dad is a mechanic, and I can remember I was thinking this the other day. This to solve everything, you cleaned everything in carb cleaner. I mean, I can't even think of something you didn't. I mean, we would even use it on our household items at our house. And I was thinking this the other day. I was thinking, man, I wonder how much damage I did to myself by using carb cleaner on everything when I was a kid.
Right? There's carb cleaner, brake cleaner. I mean, we're just using it all for everything. But here's the thing. When you're in that industry, you're giving very specific instructions, and you have to carry specific forms, and you knew what to do. From the grocery stores, we're not given instructions. And how many of you, let me just ask you, Connie, do you turn that label around and read the safety instructions on that bottle?
No, no, not at all.
Yeah. And neither do the most of us. And I do what I do today because in the automotive industry, we were so highly regulated, and it was just my opinion, my belief, my assumption that all other industries were regulated just like I was. And when I came to find out that that wasn't true, I have 12 grandbabies. And so I got angry. I got really angry that this stuff is being allowed to be sold without any instruction, without any forewarning, and so that's why I created the podcast, because I wanted a voice to be able to talk to moms and grandmas and women, because we're the nurturers, we're the caretakers.
Absolutely. I love that. So I know you're going to probably tell me all sorts of things I don't want to hear here because I am that person that loves to buy the smelly candles and have my house smell good and my laundry and all these things. And I recently started like detoxing my home, and that's when I started having my eyes open to a lot. And I will kind of say this, what brought me down that rabbit hole is my mother has been telling me for years how horrible detergents are and lotions and all these things. But what real and I knew it, but I was like, how much can it really matter? And I'm a nutrition freak. And so I was like, nutrition's all about it, can't be anything else, right? And so then
Right.
because of my adrenal problems and my autoimmune disease, I don't create my own hormones real well. So I had to go on hormone replacement therapy. And in this process, I had to rub cream on myself in order to give myself hormones. And that's when all of a sudden the red flag was like, oh shit. If you're soaking in these hormones by just rubbing them on your skin, then what in the heck else are you taking in? So that's when all of a sudden I started going crazy down that rabbit hole and started removing things from my household, which has been a slow process.
Right.
But yeah, that's where my end of things came from and why I got interested in this and why I found you.
Well, and you know what? You're so normal. So is everybody else. When we think of being healthy, we think of diet and exercise. The last thing we're thinking, your thought process is so normal. But I love your awakening. I love that, oh my gosh, they're having me rub this on my skin because it's going to get inside. What a great visual to let the audience kind of let that soak in just a moment.
Yeah, and it was just like that. That's when I was like, okay, this little bit of cream gets into my bloodstream and it treats my condition that I have. Then what else am I soaking up? It's so freaky.
Right. Well, and I tell people, I teach about 5 pillars to a toxin-free lifestyle. And one of them is absorption. And I talk to my clients that, listen, depending on the condition of your skin and depending on the ingredients of what you're applying to the skin, you're looking at anywhere from 30 seconds to 2 minutes that those ingredients can be actually detected inside the body. Isn't that nuts?
Yeah, and then the skin is the biggest organ. It actually has its own microbiome and stuff. So also, how are we disrupting that when we start putting these things on our skin or getting exposed to them?
Right. Well, and here's the thing. You mentioned that you went on hormone replacement therapy. And what I want women to understand, let me see if I can get the analogy right. So when we are exposing ourselves to toxins every single day, think about filling up a bucket with water. Eventually, if you just keep dropping and dropping water in there, eventually that bucket's going to overfill, right? And so what happens is that the water is toxins in our body. And when it overfills is when we start having the symptoms. And a lot of women experience hormone imbalances and autoimmune diseases and, other things like that. And here's the thing, the cell has the membrane. The membrane is what gets inflamed when we have toxins. And when that gets inflamed, then there's sensors there that on the cell membrane. So our messages from insulin, from hormones, from fat can't get made back and forth with each other. And toxins can't go out of the cell, they can't come in the cell. So there's a lot of stuff happening. And when we go on hormone replacement therapy, not to say it's wrong, but here's the thing, you might get some relief for a short period of time, but if your receptors aren't sending the messages, it's like adding fuel to a car and you're just pouring buckets into the nozzle instead of sticking the nozzle in. And so some is going to splash in there, but there's so much more that's just splashing outside of the car. So if we can fix the cell membrane, then we can fix the body and then we can get those messages starting to communicate back and forth. But the general answer is always to go on hormone replacement therapy from even a very young age. Women are told that that's what they need to do.
Yeah, for myself, my situation was a little bit different because I was a extreme athlete and I pushed my body to its limits and it quit on me. So
Yeah.
it had a major adrenal crisis, which ended in a Hashimoto's diagnosis
Mhm.
and a lot of tailoring and fixing. We're about 19 months outside of that now, and things have become much better. But in that
Good.
process, I've always been a huge nutrition buff, so that's not been a part of it. It was an overtraining problem. But then in that process of trying to get the Hashimoto's to chill out is when I've started really refining all sorts of things, removing, like I said, lots of household cleaners and
Right.
perfumes and makeup. Makeup is
Right.
a huge one.
Yeah.
Things like that. So it's been a rabbit hole in a way. Like, I hate to, this is a crazy thing to say, but I wouldn't wish an autoimmune on anybody. But in a way, I'm thankful that I got mine because I'm able to help so many other people through my mess that I had. It's now
Yeah.
becoming my message.
Yeah. No, and I think that's brilliant. And that's the thing. And we each get to dive down this road and do what's best for our body. The interesting thing is today we now have over 200 autoimmune diseases. Yeah, that is nuts because when I was young, and I'm 55, so when I was younger, you didn't even hear about autoimmune diseases. So you have to wonder what's causing that. And I believe you got to take the hand off the fire. So you started taking the hand off the fire. You're like, okay, we're going to nutrition, we got this covered. You know, we're going to add some outside medications in to get the body back in balance so that we've got a fighting chance. And then we're also going to take the hand off the fire. And the toxins drive everything. They really, really do. And so if we're not taking the hand off the fire, we're going to continually get burnt. And we might have, short reprieves, but it's always going to come back. So this is why I love teaching about this. And there's so many simple things that we can do. And I'm happy to give like my top tips in each one of those categories if you'd like.
I would absolutely love that. First off, the big question that everybody has
Mhm.
is, what is the worst thing that you find in our homes? Like, what is the worst, most toxic thing that we have in our homes that we can remove immediately? Is there one particular one that you think we're all exposed to?
Fragrance. Fragrance. That would be my number one thing because it's in so much stuff, from what you clean with to what you do laundry with to what you're bathing in. There's so much have inside of our homes that have fragrance in it. And so that, number one, when we're talking air quality inside the home, we need to look for and buy products that say fragrance free. All right, I'm going to give you a tip on this because unscented still has all of the chemicals of the fragrance, and now they've added more chemicals in it to make it not smell. So it's a double whammy for unscented. So we want to look for products that say fragrance free.
Okay, I love that because this is something that I heard you talk about in the past where the product smells funny because it's got chemicals in it already. So then to make it not smell, they make it fragrant. They add more, like you just said, to make it fragrance free. Or I mean, sorry, scent free.
Right. We're buffering there.
Okay, you're good. Just go ahead and say that again. Did you catch what I said?
You said you just kind of reiterated what we were talking about with the unscented, that and doesn't that just blow you away that, hey, we're going to keep the fragrance in there and then let's just add a few more chemicals so we take the scent away. I mean, it makes no sense to me how they figure this out.
It's extremely frustrating, especially because labels aren't really monitored at all, or there's no enforcement on them. So they can say whatever they want on the front of the label. It's the backside of the product that actually counts. And most places work around even listing a lot of the products the things that they have in their product there. So a lot of times you'll see lots of things that say like all natural or
Mhm.
unscented or
Mhm.
all these things, but they're actually extremely misleading.
Yeah, dermatology tested, hypoallergenic. These are all terms that are used to make us feel safe. Now, here's the thing: we all don't need to become scientists, right? I mean, trying to read a product label is like, whoa, I can't even pronounce half the words. Now, does that mean it's bad? Gosh, no. There's a lot of natural products that, because they use the scientific verbiage for it, it looks like, whoa, what is this? Doesn't mean that it's bad. So, what I tell people to do is there is an app that you can download on your phone called Think Dirty, completely free to use. And this is the way, Connie, I started learning about all the ingredients inside the products, because not only does it give you a safety rating from 1 to 10, but it also tells you why, both on the good side and the bad side. So you can start learning, ooh, okay, that's what that ingredient does to the body. It tells you what effect it's going to have on the body. So in my home, we don't allow anything in that's under or over a 3. So number 3 is kind of my cutoff. Does
I
that make
love
sense?
that. I love that. And I love that you created a boundary for your home. I'm all about these boundaries of things. Like for me in nutrition, I have some pretty big boundaries. And I tell people, do not stray outside of those boundaries. Set them and keep them, because otherwise you begin to compromise yourself out of all sorts of things. And then you're back to square one again. It's like, oh, I'm just going to eat rice this day. And the next day I'm going to eat it again. And then this candy bar the next day. And so I love that you set a boundary. I think that's a great thing.
Yep. Yep. I think it's key. And this, the app, while it's doing something for you, it's also educating you. So you start learning. And that, to me, because otherwise there's a lot. I mean, there's over 86,000 chemicals being used in our industry right now. And there's literally 10 to 15,000 being introduced each and every year. So to try to keep on top of all of that is almost impossible to do.
So what do we start doing as consumers to start cleaning up what we have at our in our homes? And are there some target areas that we should be working on?
Absolutely. So we talked about fragrance already. We said that's number one, get it out of the home. That's the plugins, the sprays, the candles, the cleaning products. Just look for the word fragrance and get rid of it. The second area that I would encourage you to start looking at is your water. Now, optimally, you want to have a whole house water filtration system on your house, and it might take multiple types. We sometimes we need charcoal, sometimes we need UV light. That depends on what is in your water source. So you can go to ewg.org. In there, if you click on the tab about water, you can type in your zip code and it'll tell you what test in your municipality's water. And then you can go research what type of water filter is going to take care of those toxins. So for me, we've got a water softener, we have a charcoal filter, and then we have reverse osmosis on our home. So, but that's what we need to have for our area. Yours might be different. It depends on what is in your water. So check that out. If you cannot afford a whole house water filtration system, then you want to get one on your shower, because we are causing more damage to the body by what we are bathing in versus what we're drinking. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, 100%. Back to the absorbing things that that kind of blow your mind.
Yep.
So I have a question for you
Yep.
then.
And it's so, yeah.
Sorry about that. We have a little bit of an overlap here, but so my question is how about people with well water?
Still want to test it. There are actually testing sites that you can look up. Well water, I want to test my water, and they'll send you a kit. It might be it's less than $20 to actually get a test of your water from your. Okay,
That makes a lot of
I
sense.
know we've got a delay.
Yeah, no, understandable. Like we were talking before we got the show going, you're in the mountains of Arizona and I'm on satellite internet. It always makes for a good time when recording a podcast. So double whammy on that one. But yeah, so about $20 and most people can have their stuff sent out and understand what's in it. Now, do those tests
Yes.
reveal like I mean, I know there's a lot of crazy things in water. You've got SSRIs and antidepressants and like lots of pharmaceutical drugs that are found in water sources, as well as like glyphosate from field runoff and stuff like that. Do these
Yes.
tests reveal that?
Yes, you're going to get, so just Google it because there's a million companies. And so make sure it's going to be testing for glyphosate or pesticides, herbicides, fungicides. Make sure you're testing for pharmaceuticals. Make sure you're testing for heavy metals in there. So if you cover, that's going to be the biggest gist of what you can, incorporate. But there's, that would be the three main things that you want to be testing for in your water.
Awesome, awesome. I love that.
Fluoride,
Yeah.
chloride, formamine. Yep,
All right. So
absolutely.
that's
So the major companies will test.
awesome. I love that. That's great. So that's a wonderful resource that you just gave us there. And it's so dang affordable too. You can't put $20 on your health anywhere. I can't even think of vitamins you can buy for $20.
Exactly. And that's the thing. Being a health advocate, it does not have to be expensive. I know a lot of people think that if I do things that are natural, I do things that are more holistic, it's a lot of money, but it really isn't. And then when we look at it in terms of if we do these things, what am I saving? What am I saving? Because I haven't had to spend, other than going for an annual doctor well care visit, I don't go to the doctor, and I haven't for probably over 6 years. So look at all the money I'm saving there, and there's a whole lot of money to be saved there as well.
I love that. And that's a wonderful thing right there because being healthy is going to save you so much money in the end.
It does. It absolutely. And you know that from your nutrition side. It might cost more to eat organic, but what's the reap on the other end? What are we going to benefit from that?
Absolutely, 100%. So what's your next tip as far as starting to clean our house up and get some of these things that we're exposed to out of the way?
So we talked about fragrance, we talked about water and putting the water filtration system, air quality. We talked about fragrance in the air, but let me tell you, I just had an experience because we purchased a house here in Arizona and I had it tested for mold. And I want to throw this out. And I know some people might go, oh, I don't know, but I'm just going to throw it out to you. You get to be the judge and decide what's going to work for you. Typically, what we find is the quality of air inside of our home is anywhere from about 10 to 20% worse than the outside air. Okay. Or 10 times to 20 times worse than the outside air, not percent. And we did a mold test. Now you can see I've got a diffuser going right up above me. I have diffusers running in every room of my house. We turned it off while they were testing my house because he didn't want it altering the test. But because I run it daily, the outside air tested at 27 parts per million. It was either parts per million or parts per billion. Inside my kitchen was four parts per million. So my air quality inside my home is, what is that? 8 times better, 7 times better.
That's
It's
awesome.
crazy.
Wow, that's impressive.
So
So, what kind of essential oils are you using in your diffusers then that helped improve that quality so well?
any of them do. Any of them do. All essential oils have so many constituents in it that are really, really beneficial. Citrus oils are very cleansing and they're uplifting. Citrus oils are very soothing to your emotions. They make you happy. They help relieve anxiety and stress, and they're cleansing. So citrus oils, pine, anything from trees is very energizing and cleansing as well. So I say grab something that smells good to you and start diffusing it, because not only is it purifying that air, which it does better than spending, hundreds of dollars on an air purifying machine. You can literally spend less than, $200 getting diffusers and a whole slew of oils, and you're good to go.
That's
Um,
awesome. I
yeah.
know I have a couple quality diffusers, but I actually lent them out to one of my friends that was sick the other day, and I need to go pick them back up again.
Yeah. They're phenomenal for supporting every single system of the body. It is actually, I always say essential oils were my gateway drug to healthy living, because it was how I got introduced to, maybe there's something else out there that I need to try.
I love that. That's awesome. So air quality is important. How
Yes.
do you feel about these like HEPA filters and all of these things that they have out there? Are they worth the money? Do they improve the air quality, or what's your take on that?
It depends on what your particular situation is. Do you have a lot of allergies? Do you have a lot of respiratory issues? Then by all means, take every measure and step that you can. With the HEPA filter and the vacuum, the HEPA filter inside the furnace, they're not that much more expensive than the other ones, honestly. I always buy the highest grade filter quality I can for our furnace. But I also spray it with essential oils. So, is it the filter itself, or is it what I'm putting on it? Because you can take, I don't have a spray bottle in here. You can take and spray, I just mix it with water. I just take my tap water, and in a little 4-ounce jar, I add about 20 drops of essential oil in there. And I'll use that to spray my furnace filters. I'll use that to spray wool dryer balls. If you want the scent on your fabrics and your
Mhm.
clothes, you can do that versus using the dryer sheets.
Awesome. That's a great thing. I know I have some wool dryer balls that I use, and I do put essential oils on them from time to time. They work great. So yeah, that's a great suggestion right there as
Well,
well.
yeah, use the spray bottle, because that oil will last you 10 times longer. If you're dropping oil onto that wool dryer ball, you're going to go through a lot of essential oil versus if you make that spray. Um, just, help where I can.
I love that. It's great. It's so wonderful to hear all of this stuff. So, another thing that we need to be looking for that is commonly used, how about like makeups and perfumes? Is that some of your area?
Huge stuff. And we are seeing, when I started my journey 8 years ago, there wasn't a lot out there in terms of makeup and safe makeup products. And you're frozen. Okay. Did we catch that? So yeah, 8 years ago, not a lot of products out there. Now there are so many companies out there that are doing a better job of really providing great uh, clean makeup. There is a website called safecosmetics.org, and they'll give you their top recommendations and tell you where some of the different companies, because there's some companies that say they're safer. And again, check them out, because they're not. But Young Living has the Savvy Minerals. They're fantastic. Beauty Counter has all kinds of great clean makeup. There's also a new company out there called Crunchy. If you haven't checked them out as well. Now, these are all network marketing companies, but I'm telling you, people, they are doing the research. They're on missions, to really bring safe products out to the world, to women. So don't shy away from that just because they're a network marketing company. Those are three right off the top of my head that are fantastic.
I love that you said Beauty Counter. So I recently started switching over their stuff because I read really good things about it, and it's really hard to know what is good and what's not. And to the point of being satisfied enough to where I'm like, should I start selling this stuff? Like, but I'm so afraid of that multi-level marketing stigma that they have going on and things like that. But I think that I feel like they have a really quality product, so it makes me happy to hear that you're saying that same thing as well.
Yep. And and it's just, you get to align with where are you afraid to give your approval of a restaurant or a movie or a clothing store, then we shouldn't be afraid to give our approval for network marketing. Now, there's some out there that I don't get behind, but those are three companies that I can stand behind their products and say, if you're using them, great, more power to you.
And honestly, price wise, other than having to go in and get rid of the stuff you already have,
Yeah.
because I mean, Lord knows, I don't know about you, but this girl had a lot of makeup. And it's not that I wear it that often, but I had a makeup problem. So I had a lot of makeup. And it's the bodybuilding shows, maybe, or something. It's
Oh, yeah.
fun to get really super dolled up for those and do your makeup. And so I had a lot of makeup. Anyway, when I start eliminating all of this stuff, it was like, oh man, I really liked that one. you know?
No. Oh, and I just got hooked up. If you were in bodybuilding, they always want to spray you down with the self tanner before you go and compete, which is horrible for us. There is a new company. I'll send it to you after we get done. And they're a self tanning lotion and oil that's all organic.
Oh,
Fantastic. Just FYI.
that's awesome because I actually had to get some headshots done the other day and I am a white girl right now but I didn't buy anything or try any of that stuff because I was like, yeah, I don't feel like soaking any of that stuff up. So I just rocked the whiteness.
You know what? Good, a good not toner. What do I want to say? A bronzer does just as good a work. So on
Yeah.
our skin.
Absolutely. I love that. So makeup, finding clean makeup is an important thing. How about lotions and stuff? We have so many of these lotions that are misleading. You've got like Aveeno, it's made with this and that. Are they are there some brands or things that you can recommend or buzzword things on the label that we should be looking for and avoiding?
Okay, so on our personal care products, when it comes to shampoos and body washes and lotions, those type of things. Number one, parabens. We do not want parabens inside any of that. And we're seeing more and more products that are saying paraben free. Kudos, that's great, but then they'll have the rest of the stuff. So we don't want things like PEG in there. We don't want sodium lauryl sulfate or sodium lauryl sulfate or SLS. They're all the same thing. They just might be titled differently. This sodium lauryl sulfate is what makes your product suds. So anything that you have that foams or suds has sodium lauryl sulfate in it. If you go to PubMed and look up dangers of sodium lauryl sulfate, there's well over 50,000 studies on that ingredient alone. So do not use products that have that in it. And it's almost always the second ingredient listed. Okay. Fragrance, sodium lauryl sulfate, parabens, and sulfates. So just stay away from those. And if you stay away from those 3 or 4, you're going to probably be rid of a whole lot of other stuff as well. Okay. Use your Think Dirty app. Think Dirty is fantastic for all these personal care products. Use that app. Again, I got to go back to the 3 companies I just told you about because they have awesome shampoos, conditioners, body washes. So look at those companies. Beauty Counter, Young Living, Crunchy. I know Beauty Counter and Young Living have a lot of other things, sunscreens, bug repellents, these things that we don't think about, but we're going to be coming into warm weather. There's another company called Honest that can have some good products in it. And then also another company I found, if you're eco-friendly as well, it's called Plain, Plaine products. They've got my shampoos, conditioners, body washes, lotions. They've come up with some more things too. They send you a container, and then when you reorder, it's just the refill that you get. So you're not getting all of the plastic, and theirs is actually a stainless steel container. So I love that.
That's such an awesome thing. So I recently had a friend that was doing that with vitamins. They sent her the
Yes.
container, a nice glass container for the vitamins the first time around. And then after that, they would just come in a little package, a
Yes.
little like paper package, and you dump it in your glass bottle. And what an ingenious idea. I love it.
Yep, in laundry room. So my favorite company for laundry room and cleaning is My Green Fills. They do the same thing. In your first initial package you order from them, you'll get all the containers. And then when you order from there on out, it's just a small package that you mix up yourself. So you're not paying for all of that water to be shipped to you. You add it yourself. And they have everything for the laundry room. They have everything for cleaning. I love that company. I use that extensively in my home.
Do you have a list somewhere of all of these wonderful companies that you've stumbled across? Because I'm pretty sure we're going to have to share it with my listeners, because most of them are probably driving and they're like, I'm going to have to go back and write this down.
I will give you, I have a link, and I don't right now because it's February. The freebie on the front of my website is a romance diffuser blend ebook. So it has all kinds of diffuser blends for romance. But typically I have an ebook series for my toxin free home, and it has all these companies listed in it, as well as I list out organic sheets and towels, and I have all kinds of kitchen items. Everything that I have found so far is in there. So, but I have a separate landing page, and I'll send that to you, Connie, so you can include it in the show notes.
That's perfect. That way people can find all of this stuff. And then probably,
Yeah.
well, we're going to air on Monday, so they're already going to know cat's out of the bag. I think I just need to become a beauty counter representative, because that sells it right there for me. I've already been pretty hooked, but to hear it coming from other people that are like, listen, these are great products and these are great for your health, that is a good thing. And I definitely want to roll with that and continue on with slowly adding to my collection.
Absolutely. And that's what we do. When I first got started, I had certain companies that I used. The more I've been exposed in doing what I do now as a podcast host, you are going to be too. And, so there's other companies that I've added into the mix, and I just keep adding it to my shopping list. I have a shopping list. I've got a blacklist ingredients. The ebook series I'm going to send you to has recipes. My blacklist ingredients is listed in there, as well as all the different companies that I support and give my thumbs up for.
I love it. So this is great. So let's talk about laundry just a little more, because we did just talk about it. You hear about people making their own soaps and stuff, but I feel like a lot of the stuff that they're using has chemicals in it, so they're really not doing themselves a favor. How do you feel about that? And is there a way to make your own soap in a safe way?
There certainly is. And let me tell you, when I first started down this rabbit hole, I made everything from deodorant to shampoo to lotions to what I cleaned the house with, what I did laundry with, all of that I made myself. And there's certainly good clean options for you. You just have to Google it. Now, I don't have time for that anymore, to be making all my stuff. But yeah, and some people actually enjoy it. They want to make it. So there's lots and lots. I share a bunch of different recipes in my ebook series that you're going to get a landing page for, so people can look that stuff up. But there's certainly lots and lots of options. Dr. Bronner's soap is a great base for so many things, as long as you're getting the fragrance-free stuff. Gosh, I can't even remember all the different things that I made and the ingredients I used, but there's certainly a lot of really good recipes out there.
I love it. This is great. So you mentioned deodorant there. And everybody I know
Mm-hmm.
wears deodorant, and it is one of the worst things out there to put on yourself. I mean, it's a bad thing, and you're putting it right in an area where it's heavily absorbed too. So as far as deodorants go, you'll see lots of catch things like saying aluminum free or this or that. Are there any particular deodorant brands that you recommend, or certain things you would definitely stay away from as far as brands go for deodorants?
So honestly, anything bought out of a big box store, just don't even do it. Just don't, and here's the thing, deodorant is very tricky. When you try to switch over to a natural deodorant, you may find yourself detoxing in a really big way. You might find yourself developing a severe rash. I developed a severe rash every single time I tried to go. So there's an actual detox you can do for your armpits before you try to switch over that will help that process along. But two things I'm going to say. Number one, when we've removed a lot of toxins from our life, when we're eating clean, you don't need deodorant. I've got friends that haven't worn deodorant for 5, 6, 7 years. I use a rock crystal is what I use for a deodorant. Yeah, deodorant. You don't want antiperspirant because we want the body to sweat. We don't want to stop it from sweating. But you'll just find that the cleaner you become in terms of a toxin-free lifestyle, your sweat, your body odor is coming from toxins in the body. It's coming from bacteria, and that's what's making you smell. So, with that being said, so crystal is a great one. Anything with a charcoal base, deodorant you can use if that will help block, especially when you're going through that kind of period where you need some, that charcoal will pull that in and will help block some of the odor. I used oils like tea tree, peppermint, lavender are all three great ones to use to mix up with a combination of coconut oil that will melt, so it's like, but then you'll also put in some air. I used arrowroot because baking soda can be very um, agitating towards the skin. So if you've got very sensitive skin, use arrowroot instead. So you just mix it up until it's almost like a peanut butter consistency, maybe a little bit thicker. And then I would just keep it in a jar with a screw-on lid and then just use my fingers to apply it.
Awesome. That sounds great. Great tip. So, I mean, I know we're starting to run a little bit short on time here, but is there anything else that you want to add into here that is extremely important as far as detoxing your home and the things around you?
So there's one more pillar that we haven't touched on at all. And I cannot leave this conversation of toxins and detox without talking about it. And that's the pillar of mental toxins. We can do everything within our power to clean up how we eat, how we move, all the things that we're using as far as products in our home. But if we haven't cleaned up what's going on here in between our two ears, it's all for naught. And this is such a very important pillar. And we have to talk about it because we are in control of what we think. And what we think becomes what we're going to speak and becomes what we're going to do. And so our thoughts are dictating our reality. It took me a long time to understand. And this being an athlete, right? This because you were taught when I was coaching, when I was younger and in high school, I was a high jumper. And my coach would have me visualize myself, with that approach to the high bar and then myself, going over it and, a successful jump. And so it's that visualization and it's changing those thoughts, that thought patterns. And so if there's anything I can leave you with is just know you can stop your thoughts. You put up a mental, stop sign, put a rubber band on your wrist, do whatever you need to do to say, hey, wait a minute, and get some help. When I first came down this journey, I didn't even realize how toxic my thoughts were. I didn't realize how easily I went into the negative, into that pessimistic mode, right? You've been around those people. You're like, oh,
Oh yeah.
gotta get
Yeah.
away,
Yeah.
So don't be that. Don't be Jane, you
Yeah.
know. And you can control that and you can stop those thoughts and you're going to actually change your words and you're going to change your actions and life becomes so much better.
I couldn't agree more with everything that you just said there. I'm a huge advocate of our mental state and what we spend our mental time on, including a lot of the people that we surround ourselves with, because they can be equally as toxic as many of the things that we're being exposed to environmentally. So I love that you said that. That is a wonderful pillar, and I'm so glad that we touched on that.
Oh, you bet. And, um, you know, I remember being in high school and I had this one particular friend and I was like, I just want to hang around her because she's just so struggling. And this is, I'm just, painting a picture here. But what ended up happening, instead of me lifting her up, she lifted me down. It took me down, to her level. So if there's things that you want in your life, go find the people who have achieved it and start hanging out with them. Okay. It's not to say we don't put our hand backward and pull people along, but until you're there at that level, you can't, you're going to get brought down. So it is so important to protect your inner circle. We can have acquaintances that maybe not be on the notch that we want them to be on, but that inner circle, that is very well protected in my world. I don't want the drama. I don't want the energy. I just want it to be very uplifting. So I protect that inner circle.
I love that. And I do the same thing. And we do all have that friend that, we care deeply about, but maybe we distance ourselves because we just can't take the negativity and that it's an aura. It's like everything is
Yeah.
wrong. Everything is somebody else's fault, or I would do this, or I would do that. And
But
it's really a difficult situation, but I am a firm believer in protecting my energy.
you have to, especially if you're somebody who's fighting a chronic disease, you're fighting to get yourself into optimal health, so protect that at all cost.
So, this has been an amazing conversation today. If anybody wants to find you, where do they go to do that?
Just go to my website. It's aimeecarlson.com, and that's AIMEECARLSON. And you can connect with me through social media. You can send me an email through there. You can take my free toxic risk assessment, listen to the podcast. All that stuff is right there on my website.
I love that. And I'll make sure that I include all of that in the show notes as well so that it's easy for people to go click and find their way to some of the information that you have out there because you're doing wonderful things. And I'm so thankful that there are people like you out in this world that are spreading the word and trying to make a difference.
Absolutely. You've made this conversation so much fun, and your energy is just absolutely contagious. You're a wonderful host. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aimee.